I knew they didn't love me, not the way they loved the others, but I didn't expect them to wrap the proof in gold foil with a red satin ribbon. The room smelled like buttercream and sugar. My niece Mia was unwrapping her third gift, a personalized iPad case with her name stitched into it in rose gold thread. Across the table, my mother smirked and gave a slight nod toward me. A large box had been placed in front of me, glittering under the overhead lights like a trophy no one ever meant to win. I didn't want to open it. Something in me already knew. Lily sat beside me, her little legs swinging under the chair. She wore the same lavender dress she picked out 2 birthdays ago. I had saved for months to get her a new one, but the money went to help pay the down payment for my sister Caitlin's vacation home at my parents' request. "You're better with money," they'd said. "She just needs a little help." I took a deep breath and tugged at the ribbon. The lid came off easily. No resistance. No surprise. Just air. No letter. No gift. Not even a joke coupon. Just the hollow kind of nothing that's been practiced over years. I stared at it for a long moment, like maybe if I looked long enough, something would materialize. But emptiness doesn't grow things. It swallows them. "Mama," Lily whispered, leaning closer. "Did they forget something inside?" Her voice was soft, unsure, like she was afraid the answer would hurt. I didn't look at her right away. I looked up at my mother instead. She was already laughing at something Caitlin had said. Mia shrieked with delight as a pair of Bluetooth headphones appeared in another sparkly box. My father raised his glass with a chuckle and said, "Well, you never really sacrifice for others anyway, Vanessa." The laughter was light, effortless, cruel in its comfort. I closed the box gently. "No, baby," I said finally, brushing Lily's hair behind her ear. "They didn't forget. They just didn't plan to give us anything." She blinked up at me. I smiled the kind of smile that breaks your face from the inside. Then I leaned down and kissed her forehead. "But it's okay," I said. "I already got the best gift. You." She grinned. She believed me. Of course she did. She still believed good things about people who didn't deserve them, just like I used to. I sat there and ate a slice of dry, overly sweet cake. I complimented the frosting. I clapped when Mia showed off her new bracelet. Lily returned to her coloring book, the same one she'd brought from home. I watched the whole thing like I was at a play I hadn't auditioned for, but was still expected to applaud. That was the thing about my family. They always knew how to dress up cruelty as tradition, wrap neglect in celebration, make a performance of love without delivering any of the substance. And I had always played my part. The dutiful sister, the helpful daughter, the invisible one, but not anymore. That night, after the candles were blown out and the photos were taken and the leftover cake was boxed up for everyone but us, I tucked Lily into bed. She fell asleep holding a balloon someone else had discarded. I poured a glass of wine, opened my laptop, and began writing a different kind of invitation. Not to a party, to an ending. When I was 8, my sister Caitlin got a pony for her birthday. Not just a ride at a petting zoo, an actual pony, with a braided mane, a pink saddle, and her name painted on the stall like royalty. She screamed with joy, ran circles around the yard. My parents beamed like they'd just placed a crown on her head. I got a pair of sensible brown shoes. "They'll last longer," my mother said. That was the first time I understood the difference between joy and practicality, between being cherished and being managed. As we grew, so did the gap. Caitlin was the sensitive one, the creative soul. When she quit college midway through her second year, they said, "She just needs to figure things out." When I got a full scholarship to a state university, they said, "Good, one less expense." I remember how they threw her a party when she announced she was pregnant at 21. Balloons, champagne, a gender reveal. They invited neighbors, church friends, even distant cousins I hadn't seen in years. I showed up late, straight from a double shift at my job. No one noticed. A month later, when her boyfriend disappeared and she had no way to pay rent. Guess who stepped in? I didn't wait to be asked. I just wired the money. I paid for diapers. I covered her car, note for a year. I even let her move in for a while. Told my landlord she was a friend. I thought that was what family did. But my name never showed up on thank you cards. When I bought Mom new glasses, something she needed for months, she told people Caitlin picked out the frames. When I paid off Mom's credit card debt the first time, she told her sisters, it's handled. Not by whom, just handled. Every time I did something for them, they found a way to erase me from the story. When I took Lily on her first vacation, a simple weekend in Seattle Aquarium and soft serve cones, I lied and said it was a work trip. Because I knew if they found out, they'd guilt me into taking all of them. And I would have, because I wanted them to approve of me so badly. I gave and gave until there was nothing left to give. Not visibly, not in my bank account, but in places no one could see. They didn't know how often I skipped dinners to make sure car payments went through. They never asked what I wanted for my birthday. They never noticed that Lily's new backpack came from a secondhand store, and that I hadn't bought clothes for myself in nearly a year. But I never complained. I thought silence was strength. It wasn't. It was erasure. And the worst part, I allowed it. I let their comfort matter more than my own dignity. I thought if I didn't need much, they would love me more. But all I taught them was how to overlook me more efficiently. And Lily, sweet, observant Lily, was learning the same lesson. The way she watched me get praised for every little thing while she sat quietly with her drawing. The way she smiled politely when her name was skipped over. The way she looked up at me with hope, even when hope wasn't warranted. She was learning to make herself smaller to fit the space they'd allowed her, just like I had, and that terrified me more than anything else. Lily was turning 7. She didn't ask for much. She never did. A cake, some paper crowns, a few balloons in her favorite colors, seafoam and lilac. I'd been setting aside bits of money for months, saying no to lattes, doing surveys at night for $5 gift cards, anything to make it happen. I wanted it to be special, not extravagant, just hers. I called my mother, hopeful. Could we host it at your place? Just family. Something simple. She sighed like I'd asked for the moon. Your daughter doesn't need a party, Vanessa. She's not that kind of child. What kind of child is that? I asked. Attention-seeking. Loud. Needy. Lily isn't like that. She's quiet. I swallowed the heat in my chest. Lily was quiet because she'd learned not to expect celebration. Then my mother offered an alternative. Why don't we just combine it with Mia's? She's turning 8 the same week. 1 party. 2 girls. Equal cake, equal gifts. It'll be lovely. I hesitated. She noticed. It'll be fair this time, I promise. I wanted to believe her, so I said yes. I told Lily we'd celebrate with Grandma and Grandpa, that they were planning something special. Her eyes lit up. She trusted me. She always trusted me. The morning of the party, Lily picked out her lavender dress again. I tried to hide the disappointment in my face. There hadn't been enough left over to buy her a new one. You look beautiful, I said and meant it. At the house, balloons were everywhere. Pink, gold, white. A unicorn piñata hung from the tree. Cupcakes with Mia's initials in cursive sat on a tiered tray. There was a massive cake shaped like a castle with a sugar figurine that looked exactly like Mia on top. I looked around for the second cake. The second name. The equal part. There wasn't one. Lily sat on the porch swing while gifts were handed out. I tried to keep her distracted, pointing out butterflies, complimenting her braids. When it was finally her turn, my mother appeared with a single box. Shiny, golden, tied with red ribbon. I already knew, but I didn't want to. I handed it to Lily. She smiled, gently untied the ribbon and opened the lid. Empty. She blinked, looked inside again, like maybe the gift had fallen into a corner. Mama, did they forget something inside? I felt my lungs collapse inside my chest. My vision narrowed. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, to demand they look at her. Really look and see the child they had erased. But I didn't, because I already knew what they'd say. It was a joke. You're too sensitive. Don't make a scene. You always ruin everything. So I did what I'd been trained to do. I smiled. I closed the box and hugged Lily close. It's okay, baby, I whispered. I already got the best gift. You. She beamed. They thought I meant it. The rest of the afternoon blurred. Mia danced in circles with her new headphones. Caitlin gushed about how spoiled she was. My father laughed, loud and careless, tossing back a beer and saying, well, some kids just aren't built for the spotlight. Lily returned to her coloring book. I sat still, like a statue at someone else's celebration, and said nothing. But something inside me had shifted, quietly, irreversibly. They thought they handed me an empty box, but what they really gave me was permission. That night, after the house went quiet, after Lily drifted to sleep, holding the balloon someone else had dropped, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. The gold box was still sitting on the kitchen counter, empty and mocking. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even touch it again. Instead, I began to untie the threads I had spent years quietly weaving to hold this family together. The first knot, the family vacation. We were supposed to go next month. An Airbnb beach house, 2 rental cars, groceries pre-stocked. The trip was already booked. I'd paid for everything under the promise they'd reimburse me in pieces. A lie I'd swallowed for years. I logged in, found the reservation confirmation, and clicked cancel. The full refund landed in my personal account. Then I opened the family group chat. Vacations off. Personal reasons. No one replied. Not a single question. The second knot, the emergency account. 3 years ago, I opened a joint bank account with my parents. At the time, it was just in case, a cushion for medical expenses or car repairs. But somehow, I'd become the only one depositing into it. Birthdays, grocery runs, surprise bills, they all came from that account. That night, I logged in and drained every cent. Then I closed the account. 2 hours later, a text from my mother appeared. Did something happen to the bank account? I left it on read. The third knot, the car. My parents had been driving a mid-size SUV for the past 4 years. It was registered in my name, insured under my policy, and the monthly payments came from my checking account. The only thing they paid for was gas when they remembered. I called the dealership first thing in the morning. Got the payoff amount. It was less than I expected. By Wednesday, the car was sold. Gone. Out of my name. Off their driveway. That Friday, my dad called. Straight to voicemail. Then came a message. Hey, the car isn't in the driveway. Did you take it to get serviced? I blocked the number. By Sunday, I was nearly done. I stopped answering Caitlin's texts. The casual, can you help me with, requests that always meant money, time, or labor. I stopped babysitting Mia. I stopped answering calls from numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't explain. I didn't announce. Because that's the thing about people who only value you when you're useful. The second you stop giving, they start noticing. Not you. Your absence. The drying well. The missed favor. The gap in the silence where their demands used to land. But I didn't disappear from the world. I became louder in the places that mattered. Lily and I cooked dinner together without interruption. We watched cartoons without checking phones. We took walks in the evening, laughing about nothing and everything. One night, she looked up at me and said, Mama, you look happier. Did something good happen? I kissed her forehead and whispered, Yes, baby. Something very good. That was the night I realized I wasn't just removing myself from their life. I was finally stepping into mine. It started like clockwork. Monday morning, 9:42 a.m., a text from Caitlin. Did you take the car? Mom and Dad are freaking out. I muted the conversation. Then came the emails. My father The same man who once laughed and said, "I never sacrifice for anyone," was now requesting access to the joint emergency account. Except it wasn't there anymore. Gone. Closed. Emptied. Without a whisper. By Wednesday, my mother sent a voice note, her specialty. Dramatic, breathy, rehearsed like a bad audition. "We're trying to pay the electric bill, and the card isn't working. Vanessa, what's going on?" I listened, poured myself coffee, and said nothing. Then came the cherry on top, Caitlin's Facebook post. Just vague enough to dodge responsibility. Just pointed enough to bait sympathy. It's crazy how one person's decision can leave a whole family struggling. We're all just trying our best. Prayers appreciated. The comments rolled in like tidewater. Stay strong. Some people are just selfish. Is this about Vanessa? I thought she was helping your parents. I didn't comment. I didn't react. I just watched. Watched the panic unfold like a script I'd seen 100 times. Only this time I wasn't in it. I was in the audience. And I wasn't clapping. That Friday, a final message came from my father. No more bravado. No more pride. We're not asking for much. Just help us get through the month. I don't know what's going on with you lately. I stared at the words for a long time. I thought about all the months I got through without their help. The nights I skipped meals so Lily could eat. The mornings I went to work exhausted so my mother wouldn't get a late fee. The weekends I canceled dates, rest, sleep, so I could fill a fridge that didn't belong to me. And not once did they ever ask if I was okay. I typed a reply, just one sentence. "If I'm such a burden, I figured you'd be relieved to be free of me." Then I blocked him. Because here's the truth. People who only love you when you're useful don't know what to do with you when you're whole. And for the first time in years, I wasn't exhausted. I wasn't overdrawn. I wasn't financing the illusion of family anymore. I was just free. Lily and I packed a small overnight bag. We drove 2 hours north to a lakeside cabin I'd booked on a whim. There was no internet, no group chats, no voicemail notifications. Just us. We played board games, drank hot cocoa, built a snow angel in the backyard. As we watched the snow fall from the window, Lily curled up beside me and asked, "Mama, do people get tired of giving too much?" I blinked. "Why do you ask that?" I said. She shrugged. "You used to look tired all the time, but now you look lighter." I hugged her so tightly she squeaked. Then I whispered in her ear, "You'll never have to beg for love." And this time, I wasn't just saying it. I meant it. It was just after midnight when I heard the crying. At first, I thought it came from the unit next door, someone fighting or mourning or drunk. But then the voice cut through the drywall, clear and familiar and shaking. It was my mother. I stood frozen in the living room. Lily asleep on the couch under a fleece blanket. Her cheeks were flushed from the day's snow, her fingers still sticky with cocoa. My mother was on the phone. I couldn't hear the other person, but I didn't need to. Her voice cracked. "I don't know what happened. She just shut everything off." A pause. We didn't mean to hurt her. We just didn't think she'd go this far. There it was, we didn't think. Not we didn't love, not we didn't value, just we didn't think. Her voice dropped lower, ragged. "Everything's gone. The money, the car, the vacation. It's all gone." I stood by the door, hand on the knob, heart as still as glass. Then came my father's voice, quieter, tighter. "She's being cruel." He didn't say she's hurting. He didn't say she's finally drawing the line. He said cruel, as if reclaiming your life was a form of violence. Then I heard it, the sound that had once gutted me to my core, my mother crying, full-throated, gasping between the words. "Why would she do this to us?" I closed my eyes. There was a time I would have melted, would have opened the door, dropped to my knees, let them fall into my arms, would have apologized for making them uncomfortable. But that girl, she was gone. I knocked once. The crying stopped instantly. Then I opened the door just a crack and stepped into the hallway. There she was, slumped at the bottom stair like a ghost of the woman I used to chase approval from. Her phone lay face down on the floor. Her eyes were red, swollen, and for the first time, confused. She looked up at me like I was a stranger, and maybe I was, because this version of me didn't beg, didn't offer explanations, didn't fill in their silence with apologies. I stepped down one stair, just one, just enough to look her in the eye, and said, "Ask your favorite daughter." Her mouth opened, halfway between protest and plea, but I didn't let her finish. I turned around, walked back inside, and closed the door, not in anger, not in spite, in peace, because there's something holy about not needing to yell to be heard. There's something divine in watching people sit in the emptiness they once handed you. I locked the door, poured myself a glass of water, covered Lily with the blanket, brushed a curl off her cheek, and whispered, "You'll never have to earn your place in someone's love." She stirred softly, smiled in her sleep. Outside the door I heard nothing, not even footsteps, just the weight of their realization settling in the silence. The well was dry, the bank was closed, and the daughter they threw away, she wasn't standing there anymore. It's been 3 months since the gold box. 3 months since I shut every tab I'd left open in their lives: accounts, favors, financing, forgiveness. 3 months since I stopped hoping they'd choose me and started choosing myself. I didn't return the voicemails, didn't reply to the vague social media posts, didn't answer the "hope you're okay" texts that came with invisible strings. I just lived, and in that living, something wild happened. I started to breathe differently, slower, fuller, like I finally had lungs that belonged to me. Lily and I baked together on Saturdays. No occasion, no guests, just us, flour in our hair and frosting on our noses. One afternoon, over a batch of cinnamon cupcakes, she looked up at me and asked, "Mama, do you still love Grandma?" I paused, not because I didn't know the answer, but because, for the first time, I had a new one. "I love the version of her I hoped she could be," I said. "But sometimes, baby, the best love you give is the kind you give to yourself." She nodded, slow and solemn, like she understood more than a 7-year-old should. And maybe she did, because she'd seen it all. She saw me exhausted from giving, saw me forgotten in the middle of giving, and now she sees me whole. I used the vacation money they never repaid to take her to a mountain town for spring break. We hiked trails, sang badly to pop songs, wrote our own silly bedtime stories. I used the refund from the canceled family trip to start a small online baking business. Lily helped me name it. We called it the second slice, because that's what this is, a life we should have had all along. The peace we were always too polite to ask for, now ours, and full of flavor. Orders began trickling in, cupcakes, cookies, custom birthday cakes. People loved them, but more importantly, we loved making them. And for the first time, every box we filled had something real inside. Last weekend, we celebrated Lily's 8th birthday. Just us, a few close friends, some neighbors who'd become family in the absence of blood. No gold boxes, no performative affection, no rankings, just laughter, messy frosting, and joy that wasn't borrowed from someone else's approval. As she blew out the candles, she leaned in and whispered, "This was the best birthday ever." I hugged her tight. "That's because this one was built with love," I said. "Ours. The kind that doesn't need to be earned. The kind that never gets measured against someone else's." She smiled like it made perfect sense. And in that moment, I realized something. They had handed me an empty box and laughed. But they never realized I was already full. I gave them everything I had, year after year, until I finally realized the best gift I could give was the one I kept.